Chosen ones, you were told to watch this alone for a reason. Not because this is scary, because this is personal. So pause for a second. Stop scrolling. Stop splitting your attention. Stop scrolling. Attention else. If you're around people, this isn't for them. If there's noise in the background, lower it. If your mind is already racing ahead to what you need to do next, set it down for a minute. This message doesn't land in fragments. It lands when you're fully here. And if you can't do that right now, that's fine. Save it and come back when you have space. Because what I'm about to say won't hit you if you're half present. Hello and welcome, my dear friend. Take one real breath, not a quick one, a full one. Notice how your chest might be tighter than it needs to be. Notice how your thoughts have been louder than usual. Notice how, even when you're technically alone, your inside can still feel crowded. I'm not here to turn your life into a mystery story. I'm here to give you clarity and relief. You were pulled into privacy for this because this kind of truth gets distorted the moment other people's reactions enter the room. Some things are so specifically timed, so precisely meant for you, that if someone hears it with you, you'll start translating it for them, explaining it, defending it, second-guessing it, and you'll miss what was meant to settle inside you. Other people would hear words. You're about to hear confirmation. Because lately you've felt a strange kind of distance, haven't you? Not just, I'm alone, but I'm surrounded and still not connected. You can be in a group chat and feel nothing. You can be in a room and feel like you're behind glass. You can answer people and still feel like you didn't actually meet them. And you've wondered, what's wrong with you? Am I becoming cold? Am I pushing people away? Am I isolating myself on purpose? But what if you're reading it wrong? What if it isn't isolation? What if it's covering? Like God has been wrapping you, not to punish you, but to keep you undisturbed while something in you resets. Because there are parts of you that cannot be rebuilt in public. Not while you're explaining yourself. Not while you're managing other people's moods. Not while you're trying to stay easy to understand. So the crowd got quieter. And before you blame yourself for that, let me say it plainly. Sometimes God removes the audience because the next version of you doesn't need a committee. Now here's why this covering became necessary. Someone has been testing you, not in an obvious way, not with open conflict, more like a constant tapping on the same bruised place, a joke that lands too sharp, a comment that seems innocent but sits heavy in your body afterward. A question that sounds casual, but feels like it's trying to pull information out of you. A conversation that leaves you oddly unsettled, then you replay it later thinking, why did that feel like that? And the hardest part is, you can't always call it out without sounding like you're overreacting, because on the surface it looks fine. But your discernment has been catching what your logic can't prove. And you've been quietly asking yourself, am I imagining this? No. Just because someone uses a soft tone doesn't mean their intention is soft. Just because the message is wrapped in politeness doesn't mean it's clean. God saw it. God clocked it. And that's part of why you've been nudged into being more private lately. Because if you speak too soon, you end up giving access again. Let me put a line in the ground here. Not everyone who had access to you in your last season has clearance for the next one. That isn't cruelty, that's maturity. Some people only know how to relate to the older you, the version that explained, the version that overgave, the version that stayed available even when it cost you. And when you stop being that, they don't always adjust. Some people try to pull you back, not because they're evil, but because your growth changes the shape of the relationship. And you've felt this. Your tolerance for certain things has been disappearing. Conversations that used to feel normal now feel draining in 10 minutes. Spaces you used to handle now feel heavy on contact. Small drama that used to hook you now feels childish, like it can't reach you anymore. You're not impressed by what used to impress you, and then you second-guess yourself. Am I being too sensitive? Am I being too harsh? No. Your system is refining. You're being trained in a new language. Not the language of arguing your point, not the language of winning. A different language, the language of discernment, the language of restraint, the language of boundaries without a speech, the language of leaving without a performance, the language of trusting what you sense without begging your mind to prove it. And that language is learned in quiet. It's learned in the space between who you were and who you're becoming. And yes, that space is uncomfortable, because it's the in-between. You're not who you used to be, so the old patterns don't fit. But you're not fully settled into the new, so it can feel unfamiliar in your own life. That's why you can feel exposed without anyone attacking you. That's why you can feel uncertain without anything being wrong. You're in a transition zone, and in that zone, one of the biggest traps is reaction. Because reaction gives people and situations instant access to your energy. Reaction makes you explain yourself to people who aren't entitled to explanations. Reaction makes you leak strength through arguments that never even deserved your breath. So if you felt that pressure lately, the urge to defend, to prove, to correct, to set the record straight, I want you to hear this gently. Your restraint right now is not weakness. It's power under control. Every time you don't get pulled into something, you keep your clarity. Every time you don't explain yourself, you keep your dignity. Every time you don't respond instantly, you keep your advantage. And yes, that can come with guilt, because you're used to being the one who keeps things smooth. You're used to being the one who responds, repairs, reassures, makes it okay. So when you pull back, the guilt tries to convince you that you're being selfish. But listen, boundaries aren't betrayal. Distance isn't hate. Privacy isn't cruelty. And you are not responsible for making people comfortable with the version of you God is maturing. Now, this part matters. Soon, clarity is going to arrive, not because you forced it, not because you cornered anyone, not because you wrote a long message explaining your heart, but because what's hidden can't stay hidden forever. Motives will show themselves, patterns will become obvious, energy will stop pretending. Some people who have been smiling while resisting you won't be able to keep the mask on. Some people who have been concerned while controlling will slip. Some people who keep poking will eventually reveal why. And when it happens, you'll understand why you were guided to be quiet. Because if you had defended yourself early, you would have created a debate. If you had explained yourself early, you would have given them material. If you had confronted early, you would have given them a stage. But when God exposes something in His timing, there's no argument. The truth stands on its own, and it's not for revenge, it's for clarity. So you can finally see who belongs close and who belongs far, who strengthens you and who quietly drains you, who respects your growth and who keeps trying to relate to the old you. Right now, your job is simpler than your mind makes it. Stay steady, stay private, stay aligned. You don't have to announce your growth. You don't have to prove your change. You don't have to convince anyone you're becoming who you're becoming. Let the fruit speak. Chosen ones, you've been noticing changes in every aspect of your life. Lately, you've been canceling plans not out of laziness, out of instinct. You've been needing more quiet, more space, more time, because when your inner world shifts, your whole system responds. And that response can come as heaviness, as emotional waves that show up without permission, as nights where you wake up at a strange hour and don't even feel afraid, just awake. Even your dreams can get louder, dreams that feel too real, dreams where you're searching, dreams where you're trying to speak and no words come out, dreams where familiar people feel unfamiliar. That isn't always random. Sometimes it's your deeper mind processing what you can't yet explain. Sometimes it's your spirit sorting what your mouth doesn't need to speak yet. And yes, some of you have been seeing signs. A line in a song at the exact moment you needed it. A repeated time on the clock. A phrase you overhear that lands like it was aimed at your exact situation. You're not crazy for noticing patterns. You're becoming more aware. Transformation is happening, and you can feel it. And you're going to notice something else too. You won't need validation the way you used to. You won't need to explain the way you used to. You won't need to argue for your own worth the way you used to. And some people will love this version of you. They'll feel safe around it. Others will be uncomfortable. They'll call you changed, like it's an insult. Let them. You did change, and change isn't betrayal. You're allowed to outgrow people. You're allowed to outgrow places. You're allowed to outgrow the version of you that stayed accessible at the cost of your peace. And you don't owe anyone an apology for becoming who you were always meant to be. So, my dear friend, if this felt like it landed right on top of your life, right on the pressure you've been feeling, like the video and write Amen in the comments. Not as a ritual, as agreement. One last thing, if someone came to mind while you were listening, someone who has been unusually quiet, unusually tired, unusually private, share it with them. Not to fix them, just to remind them. Their privacy might not be punishment. It might be protection. So stay steady, stay close to God, and let what's forming in you finish forming. Because when it's ready, nothing will be able to stop what He started.